Hello everybody, this is AlecTBGG here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do ghost farming. First and foremost, when it comes to ghost farming, the most important things are your setup, obviously, because they do a ton of damage, and if your setup isn't viable, you just won't be able to do it at all because they do just so much damage to you. Now, first of all, it's recommended to get a overflux power orb, which I just crafted my first one here right now. Currently, what I have been using is Grandma Wolf because I don't have it level 100, but obviously legendary mithril golem. It's a great place to start since it gives you such a huge combat buff in the dwarven mines compared to any other combat pet in the game. It's super viable and super useful when using this. Golden drag will always do more damage. Same with ender dragon, they will just give you more damage, but mithril golem is a super cheap alternative that pretty much anybody can use, and for budget setups the mithril golem is 100% required. Another thing is I'm giving away millions of coins in my Discord weekly, so join that and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any of those giveaways. Next, I'd recommend getting a Wand of Atonement, considering it gives some of the best healing in the entire game, and it's only 3.5 mil, so it's very cheap and it gives insane healing. Next, I'd recommend getting either an Overflux or a Mana Flux, just so you can get some kind of good healing going while you're fighting these guys, and with its healing buff and the Wand of Atonement, you'll be able to survive for much longer. Then obviously the most important thing of the entire setup is Soul Whip. The Soul Whip is definitely something that everybody talks about, but it's 100% required if you want any kind of decent efficiency when farming the ghosts. Obviously it's because of its range. It doesn't do very much damage. With 3/4 Necron and a Warden Helm, I'm only doing 158k, so it doesn't do that much damage. But when we pair it up with the giant sword and we swap to it, you can see that it does, it's kind of hard to see, but it does 500k damage. It does the amount of damage that you would get with the giant sword, but only if you swap to it really quickly, so that when the projectile hits the ghost, you have your giant sword open, and if you do have it open, it will do the amount of damage that that sword would do instead of the amount of damage that the soul whip would do, because that's how the projectile works. So if we can abuse this bug and hit from a distance, once we get them in a big crowd of ghosts, we can spam but also open our giant sword and just shred them, because we're going to be doing 500,000 damage instead of the typical 160,000. That method takes a little bit more getting used to, because it's a little bit awkward, especially at first. You'll accidentally end up using the giant sword ability, since that's also a right click ability, which is a little bit annoying when using a giant sword. So if that's your main issue, I'd recommend trying out an emerald blade. The emerald blade is a great option, especially since it's much cheaper than a giant sword. A giant sword can go up to like 160 million, so definitely check out an emerald blade if you're looking for a budget setup. Next, the most important thing of this entire setup, your armor. Your armor is what is going to help you survive. Shadow Assassin with a Flower of Truth is viable when you're early to mid game. Obviously that is the only thing that you're going to be able to use anyways. So basically, to be able to withstand the insane DPS that they have, you're going to need Necron. Now 3/4 Necron is the most viable option, since without it you'll be doing a lot less damage. So Terra Helm with 3/4 Necron is very, very good. If you can afford that, which most people can, you will be able to do this fairly efficiently. You'll have to worry about you won't have to worry about survivability, since that's about the same. You'll get about the same from the Warden Helm and the Tarantula helmet, which is very good, because that means you'll have the same kind of survivability. You'll be doing much less damage than the Warden Helm. You'll be doing much less damage with a Tarantula helmet than a Warden helmet, because that's just how the Tarantula helmet works. It does much less damage, since the Warden Helm amplifies your damage based on the amount of speed you have. With all those things in consideration, if you're still having issues with survivability specifically, I would recommend checking out a Florid Zombie Sword. Spamming it won't actually heal you as much as you'd expect. So a really good way to use this is by, instead of spamming it, just use it once along with your Wand of Atonement. Since the Wand of Atonement has a 7-second cooldown, every time the cooldown wears off since the last time you've used it, pop that heroic Florid Zombie Sword, and it will heal you much more than without the Zombie Sword. So if you combo the Zombie Sword and Wand of Atonement, you'll get much more healing, which is basically required, since these guys do a lot of damage even if you do have Necron. Without Necron, it's even more important to use this, since you're going to be doing a lot less damage. If you see a lobby where there's someone else here taking the kills, I'd recommend just switching lobbies, as this guy is just taking all my kills. I'm just gonna switch lobbies real quick and go to a different one, and that makes it so much easier because you'll be able to farm alone. And obviously this spot under the Royal Mines is the best place to go, since the most ghosts spawn under the Royal Mines. So if you don't see anybody here, you're in luck, because that means there's no one farming them in the lobby. Primal Wolf is really important to get up to level 100 if you don't have that already, since you don't even have to have it equipped to use its abilities. So it can help you a lot when you get that extra magic find with the full combo. And once you do that, you'll get millions of coins per hour, along with your insane amounts of combat XP. Now, when you're using the wolf, you'll get 200 XP per kill, and it goes up with your bestiary. You can be getting tons of XP once your bestiary is maxed, since magic find also scales with your bestiary level up on these ghosts. I neither have a golden dragon or a plasma flux power orb, but I do have the overflux and the giant sword and the 3/4 Necron and the warden helm, along with a almost max soul whip. It is not recombobulated, but I could easily buy one of those. And neither do I have a fully maxed talisman bag. I have a pretty solid talisman bag but they are not recombobulated. I have 14 legendary, 7 epic, 20 rare, 15 uncommon, and 16 common, but I do not have them recombobulated because I never took the time to do that. So that my damage may be much lower or much higher depending on where you are in the game, so you have to take that into consideration when choosing what setup is right for you. Obviously your progression in this game will determine what kind of setup is right for you. In early to mid game, you're gonna have to use that Shadow Assassin, since that's all you can really afford, along with that Flower of Truth. Once you get your fishing 26, you get a little bit more money, you can afford that Soul Whip. So that'd be like a late mid game, early late game setup. Then once you get even more money, you can probably afford that Necron and Warden Helm. That'd be like a late game setup. And then with a solid talisman bag like I do, and then you have once you're super rich, like much richer than me, you can buy that golden ender dragon along with regular ender dragon if you want one of those too. And with that plasma flux, there's your end game setup with a fully maxed talisman bag, fully recombobulated, all the good stuff. With that full setup, with that full end game setup, you'll probably be making like 20 mil an hour with this, and you also need combat 60. Another reminder is that I am not combat 60. I am only combat 42, so that might be another difference that you have to account for when choosing your setup. Since I'm only combat 42, you may be a much higher or lower combat level depending on where you are in the game. If you're a higher combat level, you may want to go for a better setup. Since you're doing more damage as is, you might as well be able to do a lot more with a better setup. All right, that'll be it for this video. That was just some ghost farming tips and tricks, different setups that you may want to try out if you want to get into this, since it gives millions of coins and millions of combat XP as well. So if you're ever trying to get that combat 60, a great way to do it. There's also the combat XP video that I posted 2 weeks ago that will also probably help you. Along with this, you will be able to get combat 60 in no time. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.